Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Friends, before going into the details of the war, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification bell. Please support by subscribing and turning on the notification bell. We are a strong community. Ukraine's postal service resuming work in liberated territories of Donetsk Oblast. Ukraine's state-owned Ukrposhta postal service has reopened 4 post offices in liberated settlements in Donetsk Oblast, the company's press service reported on November 8. In particular, the company reopened 2 offices in Lyman, and 1 each in Yarova and Sviatogorsk. According to the press service, 6 post offices were operating in Lyman before the war. 2 of them have been reopened, while another 4 are still closed due to damage from Russian shelling. In total, 4 stationary post offices and 8 mobile post offices are operating in the liberated territories of Donetsk Oblast. Ukrposhta post offices are covering all of the 40 liberated villages and towns of the Lyman and Sviatogorsk United Territorial Communities, including thanks to the work of crews of mobile post offices from other locations. According to Vadim Shestopalov, director of Ukrposhta's Donetsk Directorate, most premises in the liberated territories have been destroyed or badly damaged. The budget for the complete restoration of 1 post office, including the equipment stolen by the Russian invaders, amounts to 1 million Ukrainian hryvnias, $27,346, and there are 4 such in Lyman. However, mobile post offices will provide a full range of services, he said. Shestopalov added that Ukrposhta plans to automate mobile post offices starting next year, which means they will also provide banking services in villages. Some 84 stationary and 21 mobile post offices are operating in Donetsk Oblast as of early November. Russia's return to grain deal is a sign of Turkey's growing influence. Having declined to join Western sanctions against Russia, Turkey has become the only remaining window to Europe for Russian companies and individuals. After Moscow withdrew from the Ukrainian grain deal, it took Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan just 2 days to get Russia to return to the agreement and abandon the idea of blocking the export of Ukrainian grain. The speed of this reversal shows just how much Ankara's influence on Moscow has grown in the last 8 months, drastically shifting the relationship balance in Turkey's favor. Moscow originally agreed to unblock Ukraine's ports to allow the export of grain back in the summer, when Russia appeared to have the advantage in the war. The Kremlin was urged to sign the agreement by Turkey, key importers of Russian and Ukrainian grain in the Middle East, and the UN. It was also in Russia's interests to agree to the deal. The simultaneous loosening of sanctions to allow exports of Russia's own grain and fertilizer wasn't officially billed as part of the deal, but was agreed with the United States and the EU. The grain deal also provided the Kremlin with one more precious lever of influence over the West. Russian President Vladimir Putin first started hinting that Russia might withdraw from the agreement back in September, shortly after the Ukrainian army launched its successful counteroffensive. The Kremlin's official reason for criticizing the deal was that Ukrainian grain was supposedly largely being sent to Europe, rather than the poorer countries where it was needed more, though the destination for the Ukrainian grain was not part of the terms of the agreement. In reality, Putin was irritated that despite the lack of formal sanctions, European companies did not resume business as usual with their Russian counterparts. Banks continued to delay transactions, or simply refused to work with Russian entities. Several cargoes of fertilizer remained blockaded in Baltic ports, and foreign buyers looked for alternatives to Russian suppliers. Russia found an excuse to use the grain deal as a lever over the West on October 29, following an attack on the Crimean port of Sevastopol. The Russian military said that Ukraine had launched a drone attack from a civilian vessel sailing through the corridor designated for grain cargo, and that ships escorting the grain cargoes had been damaged in the attack. Moscow called it a terrorist attack, and suspended its participation in the deal. In exchange for returning to the deal, Putin demanded written security guarantees for both military and civilian ships within the grain corridor. There were also non-public demands, such as other banks restoring relations with the state-owned Rosselskozbank, Russian Agricultural Bank. The bank had previously played no significant role in the international trade of grain and fertilizers, but the Kremlin has apparently decided to turn it into a one-stop shop for payments for agricultural exports, thereby protecting it from sanctions in the same way it protected Gazprombank by channeling payments for gas exports through it. In the couple of days following Russia's withdrawal from the deal, Erdogan announced that grain could be exported without Russia's involvement, and spoke to Putin by phone, after which Moscow suddenly did a U-turn and returned to the deal. Furthermore, the Russian president promised that, in any case, Russia would not prevent the export of Ukrainian grain to Turkey. In other words, even if Russia again withdraws from the deal, it will still be possible to ship Ukrainian grain out of Black Sea ports. There was much talk in diplomatic circles that Ankara had leaned heavily on Moscow, reflecting the Kremlin's new weakness. At the beginning of this year, Turkey needed its partnership with Russia more than Russia did. Russians made up the bulk of tourists vacationing in Turkish resorts, about 4 million in the first 9 months of this year, and Turkish diplomats were begging Moscow to lift sanctions on Turkish agricultural produce. It was Russia that laid the Turk Stream gas pipeline to Turkey along the Black Seabed. Russia's state atomic agency Rosatom is building a nuclear power plant, Akuyu, for Turkey, and Moscow is Ankara's key partner in the Caucasus, Syria, and Libya. Back then, Russia could afford to be choosy. In 2021, Turkey was not even among Russia's top 10 biggest foreign trade partners, it was in 11th place. All of that changed with Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The trade turnover between Russia and Turkey doubled in the first 9 months of this year from the year before to reach $47 billion, and at the end of the third quarter of this year, Turkey may well have become one of Russia's top 3 trading partners, behind China and Belarus only, and gaining on Germany. Tech goods saw particularly stratospheric growth. Russia now depends on Turkey for equipment maintenance and other manufacturing processes, since tech imports to Russia from the rest of the world, including China, have fallen significantly. Turkey appears to have become a transshipment hub for deliveries of tech goods from Europe. Italy, for example, has significantly increased its supply of goods to Turkey, while Turkish exports to Russia have increased by similar amounts. Having declined to join Western sanctions against Russia, Turkey has become the only remaining window to Europe for Russian companies and individuals. Meanwhile, Turkstream is now the only route for transporting Russian gas to Europe that is fully controlled by Moscow, following the damage caused to both Nord Stream pipelines by recent explosions. Now Moscow and Ankara have started discussing the creation of a gas hub in Turkey. Russian propaganda presents the growth in cooperation with Turkey as proof that Russia is not isolated on the international stage. But it also has its flip side. The Kremlin can no longer ignore Erdogan's own foreign policy ambitions and interests. Russian companies will have to provide their Turkish partners with significant discounts to make sure they don't close the last window onto the European market. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to my channel. See you in the next video.